Let me lead off of something that Luke said. Luke talked about food security being our security. I'll say economic security is national security. And thank you all for joining us. As we look around the world, we all see chaos and instability. I've seen it firsthand during my time at State Department, where I served as spokesperson during the first 2 years of the Trump administration. You see it every single day on the news. China, as we've talked about today, has taken an even stronger role as we address our adversarial relationship with that country. But America has a strong and vast economic toolkit. Some of your companies know a lot about this, others, this may be new to you. So I'd like to talk a little bit about some of those today. With us, we have Congressman Darrell Issa. He represents the 48th Congressional District of California. He serves on the Judiciary Committee, House Foreign Affairs Committee Oversight, and is a prominent feature on television. Great to have you here today. Thank you so much, sir. He's also a big proponent of our Indo-Pacific strategy. Thank you. Adam Bowler was the first CEO of the new Development Finance Corporation. President Trump did so much to reinvigorate and alter that organization. So he is here to talk about that. Also, he's the CEO of Rubicon Partners, which is a healthcare entrepreneurial firm. And Sean Cairncross, this guy has a really busy week this week. In addition to being the COO of the RNC, he also has his own strategic consulting firm called Cairncross Group, and he served as the CEO of Millennium Challenge Corporation. Great work there. I know we're short on time today. We're running over. Congressman Issa, let's start with you. President Trump's national security strategy from 2017, we're not looking back, we are looking forward, but he correctly identified China and the role that China plays. But as we look at the Republican Party and the changes in the Republican Party today, as many become skeptical of our funding overseas and international engagement, talk to us about the connection between economic security and national security.
Well, anytime you say China, you make it seem like the administration only had one area. China, Iran, North Korea, dealing with Russia in the incursion they'd made in 2014 into Crimea. The president's team took care of each of those, and there was a level of stability, but quite frankly, in most cases, in all those cases, no resolution. So the second term is really about saying the problem is better defined, the American people better understand it, the world better understands the threat of Russia's expansionism, certainly of China's, and since this is about economics, what has happened with Iran's weaponizing a number of entities, obviously helping Russia, but also with the Houthis shutting down trade? Every one of us pays more every day. Part of our inflation factor is a cost of delivery factor related to their bombing maritime operations. We will be dealing with each of those. But the good news is 4 years of wrong direction has made it fairly easy to define right direction. No, I mean, I got a few laughs there, but in a sense, somebody screwing it up actually makes it much more available. But your point about the US, yes, President Trump is going to have to lead a party that saw the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan and explain that that's not what would have happened in the Trump administration. It's not what's going to happen in these other areas where our economy and our way of life is, for us and the rest of the free world, are being threatened.
Yeah. Sean, let me get to you. President Trump talks a lot about economic prosperity and restoring peace through strength. What do you think that means in a second Trump administration? What does it look like?
Sure. Well, thank you, Heather. And thanks to IRI and USGLC and everyone for putting this conference on. Look, I think two things. We're very proud of the platform that was passed. I hope everyone here has had a chance to review it. It is a bright colored document for the American public about what President Trump wants to do in a second administration. One of the key things that Heather was saying, and that's right, is peace through strength. And from the agency and the economic development side of things that I ran, I think a huge part of that is looking to resolve instability. around the world? And where are these places that are unstable, that lead to further disruption, that then leads to engagement that we don't want to have? And part of that process is building those economies and making the global capital markets available to places that they haven't been before. And I think we saw coming together in the first Trump administration an alignment on economic development and investment strategy that wasn't allowed to go another 4 years, but coming into it this time, I think would have some very focused energy on a broad strategic overlook. What are our goals? What's the win? And how can we most efficiently get there?
Speaking of wins, we had a big one during the administration, and that was the Development Finance Corporation, which you led. Really modernizing the organization, but also allowing it to be a backstop for corporations who are willing to put their money and investments in riskier countries for the benefit of our own national security and economic stability. What do you want the audience to know about the DFC and how that their mission might change in a second Trump administration?
So before I came on here, I was talking with Congressman Issa about the fact that the current administration doesn't have any business people in it beyond Jeff Zients. In fact, it's a negative. I know somebody that was hoping to be confirmed, and they said, look, you've done too well in business, you made too much money, you can't be in the administration.
Really?
It's a negative. And so I think what President Trump did so well is create the right mix. So when you think about DFC, DFC is a mix of business backing our greatest strength in the United States, which is the private economy and private market, and foreign policy. And so I work closely, for example, with Ambassador O'Brien, that will come up and speak soon, and aligning that with our foreign policy was critical. So I think it's an unbelievable tool. I still think it's underutilized. And President Trump is very focused on how we can use this, because this is our armor, not just as the Congressman said, not just against China, but to support American interests and American companies throughout the world and to counter autocratic governments. And so I think that partnership between private market and where our foreign policy is what Congress intended with DFC, and that's what we'll continue to do.
Yeah, on a personal note, I've seen American companies doing incredible things through the help of the DFC in Africa and also in Ukraine as well. So look forward to seeing that. Congressman, I know you have to head out just shortly, but what would you say to a changing and evolving Republican Party? We saw the head of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters speaking before the Republican convention last night, advocating for unionization of Amazon, for example. The party's changing. We see more and more Americans who are skeptical of our work abroad. How do you see things going in the years ahead with an evolving party?
Well, I'm lucky enough that the Senate Minority Leader is here, and he and I at least share one thing, and that is we remember when the Teamsters were with Richard Nixon. There comes a time when America's interest and the Republican Party become very easy to recognize. And this is one of those times when inflation isn't seemingly controlled because government's gotten too big, when the interest of the blue-collar worker is being harmed by the message being sent to the C-suite. So all of those things actually cause a good alignment, one in which the Republican Party is growing much faster than any time since Ronald Reagan. But, you know, because this is an economic discussion, if I can just ask anyone who's in this crowd, if you were in the acquisition business and we told you the price was the same to buy China or Russia or Iran or the United States of America, is there any doubt from an investment standpoint, the winning investment by far is the one that we have? The only question is, in a Trump second administration, will we make the power and the capability of our country, the inherent ability we have to lead around the world, will we make it beat the Chinese Belt and Road? Will we, in fact, deal with Russia's expansionism and their weaponization? Will we once and for all deal with Iran in a way that truly causes them to have to reevaluate what they do to their own people and to their neighbors? And I think the answer absolutely is yes. And maybe these 4 years of wrong direction will give the Trump administration the best ability to be better even than they would have been if they'd gotten 4 more years the
well,
first time.
certainly a contrast, that is for sure. And Sean, in regards to the MCC, what makes that model so unique?
What makes the model at MCC so unique is that it's a government agency where form follows function extremely well. It's small, it's nimble, it has a very focused mission, reduce poverty through economic growth, and it's set up so that it can plan forward, that it is the largest footprint in country, typically where it works for the US, and so it can leverage real policy change then to impact and create a better connection between the government and its own people. So I would say tactically, the agency works extremely well. I think the question, and moving forward into a second administration, if that were to happen, is strategically, does form follow function? And I think that's true of the entire aid, economic development, and investment for the US. It's been piecemeal for a very long time, and it needs an assessment of what are the goals today, what's relevant to the United States today, and how do we increase that impact?
Yeah. Okay. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. We hope that you too will consider getting back into government in a second Trump administration. And Congressman, we look forward to a continued partnership with you on the Hill.
Well, I'm staying in government, that's for
That's
sure.
good.
Thank
We need
you.
you there. Thank you, everyone.